Okay, Happy New Year and welcome back to another GAK9 Australia video review with Cosmo. Now, I'm a little bit behind on this one. December was a pretty hectic time, not just because of holidays, but a few other things. So I do apologize for the delay in getting this video out. However, I've got some good points to raise out of this one, so really looking forward to getting into it. Okay, so there's not a lot I would do differently in regards to approaching this start article. Where possible, we try and avoid stopping and forcing the dog to sort of pay attention to it. But in that particular case there, you walk a bit of a tightrope and you kind of nailed it. Ideally, Cosmo would have run, tracked up to it and gone, oh, hello, there's an article here. But it doesn't always go that way, and you did a really nice job at the beginning there. I really like the way that you let the leash out, nice bit of general tension on the line, no snapping, no corrections felt through the line for Cosmo, so really pleased with that. I would suggest that we may have stepped off a little bit too soon. I would have liked to have seen a little bit more commitment from Cosmo in terms of change of behavior before setting off on the track, although it was still fairly good and they headed off in the right direction with a lot of conviction, which is really good here. Now, coming up in a moment, we're going to see a really clear change of behavior. I've got my timings just off here. It's coming up. Cosmo's working their way along. As they come up to the right into this thicket of trees, we're going to see a massive change of behavior just here, right there. That's a really nice data point for us in terms of interpreting canine behavior on the track, and that really was a powerful moment where we can pretty safely determine that that was where the track layer had walked through Cosmo's body language, which is really good to see. Now, the next thing I want to talk about in regards to this track and drawing out some good lessons is the way that I'm interpreting Cosmo's body language is being impacted by the humidity on this track. Now, I've seen Cosmo track plenty of times now, and they're quite an adept little dog. Now, the way they're working the odor on this particular track speaks to me about the impact that the humidity is having on it. Now, humidity, as you can feel it, it's sticky, makes it sweat. It's not the most pleasant environment. That's why I live in Canberra and not Southeast Queensland anymore. It tends to have the odor sort of hang and cloy in the air itself. And this can present a problem for a dog who's inexperienced in working in humidity. Now, like anything with experience and repetition, they'll learn the most efficient way of how to solve the problem presented to them on the track. However, Cosmo living in Bendigo doesn't necessarily get to track in high humidity, or I should even say relatively high humidity conditions like a dog north of the Brisbane line would on a regular basis. Now, what we can see here though is that Cosmo is effectively bracketing the edge of where the odor is on the track. Now, there seems to be plenty of odor, the consistent body language in terms of directionality, motivation, speed, intensity is all quite solid throughout this entire track with minimal deviations. And where there are deviations, Cosmo finds their way quite neatly closer to the track line. Now, normally we would see in, say, particularly for Cosmo in similar conditions without the humidity, I've got very little doubt that we would have seen Cosmo pretty handily track much closer to where the track layers physically walked. Now, in this system, I'm not too fussed about whether a dog is tracking exactly where the person's walked or just off it. It's always about where the dog is most able to effectively work odor to solve the track. What is worth drawing out of this in terms of locking away for the future is being able to understand the conditions in which you're working, in this case, humidity, and then observe Cosmo and understand that the way they're sort of weaving a little bit is sort of indicative that they're working the odor of the track layer, but they're just having a little bit of a difficult time with it and they're sort of bracketing the edges. We can see a little bit of stress there as Cosmo has a nice little stress shake, which is fine, but we see that they quite handily solve the problem and get back into odor again quite well, which is good to see. Now, as always, we train with a track layer who remains at the track end for the duration. Now, this will progressively over time expose the dog to all sorts of different odor pools to solve. If you've ever heard someone say they've had a track for a long period of time and then they suddenly lost it for whatever reason, I have seen many tracks fail because the dog has hit the odor pool and followed it the wrong way out. Now, it sounds counterintuitive, but I've seen it many times. What's good here is that Cosmo hits the odor pool and finds their way straight in without hesitation to Darren. So really, really nice finish there. That was a great little track and very enjoyable to watch. Great, so what is next? I'm going to go ahead and review the track from the 5th of December, and at the conclusion of that video, I'll provide some more comments and guide back for the next round of tracks that I think we should get after. But overall, I'm incredibly pleased with the leash handling that you're doing, Ariana. You're really working nicely behind Cosmo. Even over these small amount of tracks, we're seeing a huge change in Cosmo's ability to scent discriminate, become less distracted on the track. So overall, I'm really pleased with what I'm seeing. That was a really nice cold start track by leaving Cosmo in the vehicle. And don't fret too much that you aged it out an extra 4 minutes. In the conditions you're working with, you could have aged it out an extra 5-10 minutes and it would have made very little difference because of the humidity and the time of day in which you were tracking. So don't stress too much. Consider 15 minutes to be a rough guiding timeline at this stage of training, but we'll address that in the next video about what we need to do next, which I'm really excited to get into. All right.